Peter Czymbor, 8countnews.com, coming to you from the Main Event Sports Club in Glendale, California. And joining me now is the owner of this gym. He's also a junior middleweight contender and former United States Olympian, Vanes Matirosyan. First off, Vanes, thanks for having us here at the gym. Beautiful place. You've owned it for a few months. How is the business going?
So far it's going good, but first of all, thank you guys for taking the time to do this interview. The gym has been good. I always wanted a gym in my hometown, and I found out there was one, so I took over it, and it's a blessing.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your boxing career. You're coming off probably your biggest win as a professional thus far. It was against Joe Green, a fellow then undefeated junior middleweight prospect / contender. It was your HBO debut. What's next for you coming off that big win?
We weren't really satisfied with the win. We wanted a bigger victory than that. The next fight, I've been calling everybody out, and nothing yet. But Top Rank told me December 18th they're working on for me to be the main event. So I'm just waiting to see when I'm going to get the call and who I'm fighting, but nothing yet.
Let's talk about some of the different fighters you've called out in the junior middleweight division, because it seems like everyone in the top 5, top 10's name has come out of your mouth as of late. Let's look at the title holders first and how you think you stack up against them. Maybe the best of the bunch, WBA junior middleweight champ Miguel Cotto. How do you think you stack up against him? He was the main event the night you beat Joe Green in the co-feature.
Yeah, well, me and Freddie talked about it. The fight that we really wanted was Paul Williams. Freddie and I had a game plan to fight him. Even when I was with Ronnie Shields, Ronnie was telling me to fight Paul Williams too, that I'll knock him out. But Freddie, after they heard Cotto, Freddie's like, you'll stop him in like 4 or 5 rounds. I was like, really? He's like, yeah. He goes, trust me, we've been in there with them. And so, I think I'll do good against all the champions. There's nothing against Cotto or anybody out there. I just want to fight the best, People might say I'm not the best, but I'm willing to fight the best. So let's fight.
I want to come back to Paul Williams in just a moment, but maybe the most ripe for the picking of the 154-pound title holders, a lot of people say, is Cornelius K9 Bundrade. All credit to him. He knocked out Corey Spinks, got a good win over Spinks in St. Louis last month, but a lot of people say Spinks was very inactive, out of shape, and not prepared for that fight, and that's why K9 got the win, despite the fact that he clearly earned it. How do you think you match up against him?
I think that's the easiest out of all the fighters, K9. He's a good fighter, but I don't think he has the heart. And fighting Cody Spinks, if Corey was the Corey that back in the days, he would have whooped him really bad. And, it was a bad time for him.
The WBO title holder is Sergei Dzindziruk. A lot of people aren't familiar with him. I believe he's only appeared on United States television once when he was on Showtime. However, he is considered to be one of the more dangerous fighters at 154 pounds. Interestingly, you told me off camera you have some experience sparring with him at the Wildcard Gym where Freddie Roach trains, and you say you get the better of that sparring. Well,
yeah, I kicked his ass like really good. They came in looking for sparring. It was his debut when he was fighting the Australian guy, Dawson. And, they were going out to all these gyms and trying to look for sparring. They came in the wild card, and I don't even think he knew who I was. And, they're looking for sparring, and we got in there and we sparred, and, we did really, really good. And after 3 rounds, they didn't want to spar anymore. And we hurt him and we cut him. And that's why now when I call him out, I know that's why he doesn't want to fight, because he knows I'll knock him out.
What exactly effective in sparring did you do against him?
He had a really good jab. His jab was really good, but the jab wasn't really pushing me back. His power wasn't that good. The right hands were catching him all day, and every time I landed the right hand, I looked at his eyes. He was like, oh, shit.
Well, you mentioned Paul Williams a few minutes ago. Paul Williams is a guy who's challenging for the middleweight championship of the world next month as he takes on Sergio Martinez, a fighter who he owns a very close victory against from last year. Paul Williams can fight interchangeably between 147 pounds, 154, and 160. Does it matter what weight class you fight him?
I'll fight him anywhere, even 168. I don't care. Whatever he wants me to fight him at, I'll fight him at that weight. Paul Williams is I think that it was more of a hype than a good fighter until he got exposed. And after he fought Sergio, and then, after he fought, he fought a couple of guys, they kind of exposed him. And now people see that they could catch him. And when he fought Kermit, after Kermit jumped out of the ring, before that, Kermit got him with a good shot and he buckled him. So, a lot of people are getting confidence watching Paul Williams right now because, after he lost and, after his fights, he's not looking the same that he did before.
Paul Williams, as people like to refer to him as the most feared man in boxing. He's a volume puncher. You shake your head when I say most feared man in boxing. You think he's hittable and beatable?
I've been calling him out for a year, and the most feared man doesn't want to fight the guy that's calling him out. It doesn't make sense. People say, you know, they want to fight this guy, they want to fight everybody, but as soon as somebody says something, they go, oh, no, I want to fight Pacquiao. As soon as they jump into big money fights instead of trying to prove themselves as the best in the game.
How do you see Paul Williams versus Sergio Martinez, the rematch, coming about? And would you fight the winner? Because let's face it, Sergio Martinez, the current middleweight champion of the world, he only moved up to middleweight for the title shot against Kelly Pavlik. He is naturally a 154-pounder, your weight class.
Yeah. I think that Sergio is the best out of all of them. Sergio is just athletic, man, and I hope that, you know, I fight Sergio too if he beats Paul Williams, and I would love to fight him. You know, I've met Sergio in Dallas, you know, after we were talking crap to each other, and, you know, he's a nice guy. And Bob Arum even said, you know, well, at that time, Bob Arum said after you lose to Pavlik, he'll go down and fight Vanes. But, you know, he ended up beating Pavlik. But whatever happens, I'll fight Williams, I'll fight Sergio, I'll fight anybody, man. It doesn't matter, just anybody. I want to fight.
We've discussed 3 out of the major 4 governing bodies' junior middleweight title holder thus far. One of them is vacant. It will be filled on November 13th. 1 pound-for-pound king Manny Pacquiao takes on former welterweight titleist Antonio Margarito. You'll actually be sparring with Manny Pacquiao in preparation for this fight, and it's my understanding that there is a $1,000 prize for anyone that knocks him down in the gym. Do you think you can knock him down and get that 1 G's?
Yep, Freddie better write that check right now. I'm going to drop him next week.
How do you think Manny's going to fare in the junior middleweight division? He's a guy we saw come originally from featherweight. Now he's coming all the way up to the junior middleweight. He's fighting at a catchweight of 151 against Margarito. Is he almost getting to the point where he's biting off more than he can chew?
I think so. You know, he's going to hit a wall. He can't just keep doing that, you know what I mean? I think at 54, he'll be good there if he picks the right fights, if you know what I mean. Like guys like Yuri Foreman or Margarito, where you give them angles, they can't do much. You know, they just keep their one-dimensionals. With fighters like that, you can. But other fighters like, you know, like Cotto, well, not Cotto, but like can't think of a name right now, but I'm sure that there's other fighters that if he fight, like, you know, let's say Pacquiao Kirkland or Pacquiao Angulo or somebody that big.
Pacquiao Kirkland. I have not heard that suggestion just yet.
No, but if you think about somebody that's bigger and that's faster, that just doesn't care, he's going to throw punches back. I think that, you know, they could do good against Pacquiao, and I think Pacquiao will be good at 54 if they pick the right fights for him.
We've talked a lot about different fighters that you could potentially take on in the future. Let's talk about boxing politics for just a little bit. You are a guy that has fought your entire career in the junior middleweight division. You have noteworthy victories over Kasim Uma, a former world champion, and Joe Green, a fellow undefeated rising contender such as yourself. Yet the WBC is having their junior middleweight title fight between a guy who has never fought in the junior middleweight division in Manny Pacquiao and Antonio Margarito, a guy who got annihilated 2 fights ago at welterweight, and since coming back has had 1 fight in junior middleweight where he looked ordinary against the journeyman. Does that get under your skin as a fellow prize fighter?
You know, sometimes I go online and I look at the rankings, I'm like, all right, the guy took 2 years off, he comes back. You know, he fought at 147, takes 2 years off, comes back, and he's ranked number 1 at 154, and he's getting a title fight. I don't get that. Or Chavez Jr., he changes his weight class to middleweight and he's ranked number 1 in the middleweight division all of a sudden. I don't get those rankings. Sometimes it doesn't make sense. I think that, I don't know if they should have 1 title, but they should have everybody fighting each other to get the rankings, not, you know, just putting people up there just to make the big fights so people could fight for your belt. I don't think that makes sense, and that's not right. Because you're not, if you become champion, what about those guys that are there that have been working their asses off to get there? All of a sudden there's a big fight, all right, you're ranked number 1, fight. I don't think that makes sense, and it's not right.
Is Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. a legitimate contender, or is he a guy that is overranked by the WBC because the president of that organization, Jose Suleiman, has such a close relationship with his family, particularly his father, the legendary Julio Cesar Chavez Sr.?
To tell you the truth, like, no disrespect to Chavez, but I have kids in here that would do very good with Chavez in my gym. They would kick his ass. I mean, I have sparring partners that are, you know, that are way better than Chavez. You know, it's the name. It's clearly the name. You guys can see it. But, you know, as a fighter, you know, he will get exposed. But with Freddie, he has got a little better. You can tell from his last fight. But that's not going to take you anywhere. The name's not going to take you anywhere. You have to take yourself somewhere.
Have you sparred with Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. down the wild card?
Junior doesn't even want to stand next to me, man, to spar with me. No, he's never sparred. He wouldn't even want to be in the same room as me.
Now, we've talked a lot about different fighters you want to fight. Today on Twitter, you called out Sugar Shane Mosley, former multi-division world champion, had his most recent bout at junior middleweight against Sergio Mora. Why Shane Mosley now?
You know, it's the reason why is because I go on boxing scene, like I go on you guys' website too, and I'm reading these things, like these fighters coming in saying, oh, I'll fight this guy, I'll fight that guy, I'll fight this guy, I'll fight anybody that wants to fight me. And I'm like, all right, fight me. And then there's nothing else. So people keep doing that, and then today I just had it, man. I mean, I know Shane, no disrespect, but I really want to fight him, and if he's a man and he really means what he's saying, that he'll fight anybody, then he should fight me. I mean, I'm young, 24, beat me to prove yourself that you can still beat a young guy or something, or you belong in the sport. Because looking at his last fight, he looked like shit against Mora, and everybody, because it was a boring fight. I was there, and I was falling asleep, man. I wish I didn't go.
Willing and able to fight anyone, it's current undefeated junior middleweight Vanes Matirosyan joining us here on 8countnews.com. Vanes, before I let you go, thank you so much. Any final words?
I want to thank you guys again for coming and doing this interview, and I want to thank my fans for supporting me. Follow me on Twitter and Facebook, Vanes Boxing. Thank you guys.
It's Vanes Matirosyan for 8countnews.com. I'm Peter Czymbor.